Hello and welcome to GameSack. This week we're going to do the first in what we hope becomes many episodes dedicated to the subject, games that never left Japan.
That's exactly right. These are games that should have gotten a wider release than they did, and frankly just because they deserve it. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are. So what game that didn't get a Western release do you have in store for us first, Dave?
Well, I'm going to talk about Golden Axe 3.
Ooh.
Now, you would think Golden Axe 3 would be a no-brainer for Sega to release the game outside of Japan and Asia, being how popular the Golden Axe series was. But Sega was pretty good at making bad choices.
Yeah, don't look at me like that. You won't get any argument here.
Oh man, I wanted an argument. Anyways, I'm a fan of the Golden Axe series, so I didn't have to think twice about importing this one. Definitely a good finale to the golden days of Golden Axe. This version has everything you want and more, and some things which you'd like to see more of. Along with the tried and true gameplay, Sega gives you 4 playable characters, which is up from 3 in previous games. The game has branching paths, which adds to the game's diversity. This version has good music, but it's not as great as music from parts 1 and 2. The magic spells are okay, nothing inspired or grand that will make you scream, "Awesome!" The graphics are good, but seem a little flat in some areas.
The graphics are definitely very, very low budget, and flat is indeed a great way to describe the character animation here.
And finally, why, Sega, is the dwarf not playable? He's one of the best characters and you don't let me select him? This upset me very much.
Huh, come on, at least you can control a really crappy Panther character instead. Actually don't, he's pretty useless, but the other 3 characters are pretty good though.
Sorry Joe, that's no consolation for me. Anyways, this is a very good addition to your import library.
Yeah, I think this game gets kind of a bad rap here and there, but it is really fun.
Alright Joe, what's the first game that you're going to take a look at?
Well, since the Genesis is still plugged in, might as well take a look at Glee Lancer.
What the hell is Glee?
Ah, Glee Lancer for the Mega Drive. I wonder what they really meant to call this game, as Glee Lancer just sounds kind of broken.
Well Joe, maybe it's Gray Lancer. Or how about Gray Rancer? Well, who knows?
I don't know. Anyway, Glee Lancer is a horizontal shooter from Messiah. At first it might look like your run-of-the-mill shoot-'em-up, and in some ways it definitely is. But what I like about this game is it gives you many different choices on how to handle your options that float around your ship. I personally like the shadow mode, which the options follow you as if you were pulling them along with a string. Also nice is that if you hold down the C button, the options freeze in their position, and this can be very helpful. Anyway, the game opens with a 4.5-minute cutscene to set up the story for the events that are about to follow, and there's this moon language again, so I have no clue what the story's about.
Who cares anyways?
Yeah, anyway, the gameplay feels very smooth, and although you do get set back when you die, you usually don't get set back too far, and also the bosses are very, very easy. Still, it'll take you a while to reach the end of this game, as there are 11 stages total. The graphics in this game are generally pretty good. There's some nice parallax scrolling effects, and overall it's quite pleasing to look at. The music is fantastic for the most part. The tunes really pump you up early on in the game.
Yeah, some of the best game music out there is found in this game.
The sound effects are all good as well. The only thing here that sounds bad are the voices. It sounds like they hired a robot with electro-laryngitis to talk to you in this game.
Stick to it and believe in your power.
I don't know why this game never saw the light of day outside of Japan at the time. It's really a shame. It's much better than a lot of the westernized crap that we were seeing on the Genesis. These days, a real copy of the game commands quite a high price. It's available on the Wii Virtual Console if you don't mind emulating it though.
So that's Glee Lancer. Lancer for you. Go out and get it right away if you're able to. So Dave, your turn. What game's it going to be?
Well, Joe, unhook the Genesis over there. Plug in the PlayStation, PS1, whatever. One with a mod chip or whatever damn device you use to play import games, because we're going to take a look at Kermie Hopperhead.
Ooh, let's hop to it.
Ooh. Kermie Hopperhead is a nice little platformer that came out at the beginning of the PS1's life.
And therefore it fell under Sony's no 2D policy they had for the early US market and wasn't released here.
Yeah, and that really sucked because, you know what, I had to make a call on importing this game by what I saw in the back of GameFan in the ad for Game Cave, or was it Tronix? I took the chance and I'm glad I did because it turned out to be a fun game. As you can see, the game has very bright and attractive graphics.
The main character looks like a total poser though.
Throughout the game, there are eggs for you to collect. You can have up to 3 at one time. These are your helpers and your life bar also. While you have control of them, they will follow you and you can take 1 hit from enemies and not die. Once you release them, they will kill enemies and collect stars, but this will leave you vulnerable and you will die if an enemy hits you. You can also use these eggs at certain points to make platforms so you can reach out of place areas. Collecting stars through the level is important, as these are what you use to power up your eggs to make them hatch and become stronger. The control is great and the levels are well thought out. The music is okay. There's not a lot of variety to the music and it has a very jazzy, almost Dixieland sound to it.
I got tired of the music in this game really fast.
Yeah, it's definitely not that great. A great import game and I'm glad I took the chance.
You know, it's too bad that Sony didn't want a lot of variety in their lineup early on, Dave. Games like that definitely should have been released here.
Oh, I agree totally. I mean, 2D was still the hot and happening thing in the gaming world. And
it was, yeah.
Sony totally cut it out for some stupid reason. But, you know, that's a thing of the past and we're moved on by now. So, what game are you taking a look at now, Joe?
I'm thinking of slashing into Bulk Slash for the Sega Saturn.
Bulk Slash is a surprisingly good game for the Saturn by Hudson Soft. Weirdly, the front cover is glued to the plastic. No, I didn't get some kind of knockoff or some kind of used version. This is how it actually is, so be really careful not to crack the case for this game. Anyway, you play as a mech that can run around on the ground destroying things, and you can also transform into a flying thingamabob which can also shoot down and destroy things.
I love thingamabobs. Not too many games have thingamabobs, which is sad.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Ranger X for the Genesis for some weird reason. It also kind of reminds me of Metalhead on the 32X. Anyway, moving on. You can find an anime girl who is very, very vocal about what you're doing and gives you hints on what to do next, or at least I presume that's what she's babbling about.
As if a woman yelling at you will make you work harder, or even better for that matter.
Your goal is to locate and destroy several different enemy targets all over the map. Why? I have no idea, but that's what the game wants you to do, so you've got to do it. After all of the targets have been destroyed, you get to fight the boss of the level. Who would have thought? This usually works best if you're in your flying mode. And obviously, as the levels progress, targets get tougher to locate and harder to destroy. The graphics are fairly good for a Saturn 3D game, and the music is excellent.
Joe, these graphics haven't aged well, just like a lot of Polygon games back in the day.
Still though, I'm amazed that this game did not come out in the US, being as it was a free roaming 3D game. It had a good presentation, and it was a really fun game to play. Hudson Soft brought over other stuff like Dungeon Explorer and Lords of Thunder. Why didn't they bring over this? My guess is that they simply didn't want to translate all of the voices. So if any video game developers in the 1990s are watching this episode through their Future Vision device, please take note that if you want your game to have as wide an audience as possible, don't put so many voices in it unless it's a huge budget title.
Wow, Joe, Bulk Slash looks like a cool game, and you know what? The funny thing is I've never even heard of it before.
You know, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, one more game you get to choose in this episode. Which game made the cut?
I'm gonna choose Cosmo King the video.
The video? Alright, I'll power up the VCR.
Cosmo King the video. Strange title, I know, but what do you expect from a game not released outside of Japan?
Well, actually, it was released in the US, but only in the arcades. Surprisingly, the title remained the same. The Cosmo Gang are the bad guys, and this game is their video. This premise is far too complex for simple-minded Americans to handle, so Namco didn't bother to release it here.
Who the hell is Namco to call me simple-minded? Anyways, as many of you know, Galaga is a game that made Namco a household name. So it's not surprising that Galaga would have some offshoots.
I originally illegally downloaded this game and played it on a Super Nintendo emulator, and I immediately knew that I had to go out and get the real thing, so I did. Seeing my copy is how Dave discovered this game.
I'm not gonna lie, that's true, Joe. So Cosmo King is basically Galaga with a few tweaks here and there. The game plays exactly like Galaga. Obviously, the main differences are graphical. Everything now has a cute look to it. There are 6 worlds and each has 4 levels. At the end of the 4th level, there is a mini-game where you have to stop 6 enemies from stealing a certain object.
According to the arcade version, they're trying to steal energy here.
Okay, you guys, steal energy.
Also included is a final boss for the whole game. This is a great game to have as it can be played and beaten in under an hour. It also has a fun 2-player mode, which is the best way to play.
You always say that playing 2 players is the best, as if you have friends or something. But yes, this is a great game.
Alright, Joe, 1 game left. What's it gonna be?
Well, you know, Dave, I'm still in a Saturn mood, so I thought I would throw in Battle Garega.
Battle, Greg? Why is Greg going to battle?
Okay, enough with the puns. People are getting sick of them.
I know, I frankly am getting sick of them too, so
Let's get to it.
Battle Garega is a vertical shoot-'em-up for the Saturn by Rising.
Joe, I think we clarified that is called shmup.
It was originally an arcade game, and I assume this has been ported over nearly perfect. One of the first things you'll notice about Battle Garega is a silky smooth control you have over your plane. There's nothing complex going on here and no speed adjustments to worry about, and it just works right. The next thing you'll notice is how crazy the action in this game is. When things blow up, they send shrapnel flying everywhere. It's actually quite impressive to look at.
But don't look too long or it will be your death.
You can choose from 4 different airplanes, each with their own unique firepower, bombs, and speed. You can eventually unlock 4 alternative planes that are more science fiction-y or fantasy-like. These are pretty cool and help give the game a bit more personality. The graphics are great. It's 2D all the way. Not a single polygon lives in this game. The music is also pretty cool for the most part. You can choose between original and arranged tracks. The arranged tunes are pretty cool to listen to, but overall I think I like the originals better. It should be noted that like all other Rising games I've played, this game is insanely easy. Don't let the frenetic on-screen action fool you. I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty level here.
Yeah, and he's playing with one eye closed too.
Still, that shouldn't keep people from getting this game if you can. I can think of 2 reasons that this game wasn't released outside of Japan. Number 1, it's a 2D game. Companies back then were allergic to releasing 2D games outside of Japan. Number 2, it's a shooter. Since it was both 2D and a shooter, companies likely felt that it wasn't advanced enough to be released here and that players would reject it because it looked and felt too old. The sad thing is, they were probably right. Players likely would have rejected it. Oh well, that's marketing for you, I guess, but still, this is a great game.
There you have it. 6 games of goodness which all deserved wider audiences.
That's exactly right. And what games would you guys like to see that never got released outside of Japan? If we have it, we'll cover it.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Dave, I was taking a look at your Hermie Hopper head here, and I noticed, something very unlike you. There's no manual in this game. It's not complete. What the hell's up with that?
I know, Joe, it hurts my feelings badly, but, long story short, I brought the manual to a sushi joint to get it translated, and the sushi chef that translated it just lost it conveniently, and, I was sad. I was totally out. It sucked.
You can't be serious.
I am serious.
That's just pathetic.